Michelle Lavoie, and I am very excited to bring to you a brand new show here, exposing some great talents coming right out of the Wethersfield area. And our show is now called Homegrown Talent Exposed. And I'm very excited to bring our first guest into the studio. I would like to give you a warm welcome today to Mr. Jimi Bell.
Thank you, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to do this, and I literally cannot think of anybody else who I would love to have as my first guest. So thank you for coming in. It's an honor. I
really appreciate it. I grew up in Wethersfield. It's going to be a real treat to do this.
Excellent. Well, speaking of growing up in Wethersfield,
there it is, right there, folks.
I happen to have the old 1976 Wethersfield High School elm here.
Of course, that's a lie because I graduated in '86.
86. And I'm just wondering, who's this guy?
Very handsome, that's for sure. But no, that was me back in '76. I had a good time in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends in school. I had a few of them and stuff. For some reason, I wasn't the most popular person in school. Not that I had any enemies. It wasn't like that. I wasn't in with I wasn't in like one of the groups. I wasn't in with the jocks. I wasn't in with the other people or whatever. I was just kind of like a loner. And
into music, though.
Yeah, I was into music. I was kind of like to myself, and it just kind of everything snowballed. I started music at a real young age. I picked up an instrument when I was just a kid at 5. I mean, my parents have a picture of me holding a guitar and stuff, but I didn't actually play to speak of until later on in the years. But I tried. I think I started off with the piano. I played that a little bit, and then by the second grade I was playing the big stand-up bass.
In school? Yeah,
in the school orchestra, and I actually did that for a while. And my poor mom, she used to carry the big bass. They used to give you a bass at school to play and stuff. So I did that, and I played trumpet for a year and a little bit of another like an organ. You learned how to do the two-handed thing with the bass pedals and stuff. And I ended up. I always liked the drums. And around age 10, I had taken up the drums, and I was pretty good at it. I went to my parents always gave me private instruction on a lot of things, so I tried a few different things. Not the guitar, that didn't come into later, but so age 10, I was playing drums, and I had went to the Hartford Conservatory of Music.
Wow!
And I actually had won a scholarship for the drums. I was being taught by a drummer that was he was in the Hartford Symphony Orchestra, and it was more rudiments. It wasn't like drum set drumming,
Right.
It was snare drum rudiments and stuff like that. And from that point, I had a drum set at the house, and I had some friends in high school that had guitars and whatever, and they decided to come over to my house because the drummer's house is always the practice place.
Cool place, yeah.
that's where they bring everything.
Well, that's some good parental support right there. Letting your friends come over and make a lot of noise, right?
Yeah, later on in life it got really insane there. But so one day, here I am. I played drums from ages 10 to 13, and at 13 years old, one of the guys had left his guitar out of the case and against the amplifier. And I decided to, pick it up. Now, I'm left-handed, which is, a real nightmare for a guitar player anyway, because you have to get special custom-made guitars, and they cost a lot more money. And, and when you walk in a music store, there's only like 2 left-handed guitars out of a million of the other ones, But so he left his guitar there, and I picked it up. I turned on the amp, and he had a fuzz box, an old Big Muff fuzz from the 70s, and I stepped on it. I was playing it, and I said, and all of a sudden, I don't know what came over me, but I just said, "Oh my God, this is what I want to do."
It felt good.
It just felt right. Having a guitar in my hand, I was doing these noises. I knew a couple things on it, and I fell in love with the guitar so fast and so instant that I dropped my drum scholarship right off the bat.
Wow.
And I started on the guitar, and I never stopped from like age 14 on. I never put the thing down.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty. It's pretty fun. For me to fall in love with something that heavily, was right off the bat like that. It just took me. It was one of those things. You hear it all the time.
Well, and I love, back to the book here, I love this because most people probably don't even know what they wrote inside their high school yearbook. Do you remember what you wrote?
It had to be something to do with Deep Purple or Stratocaster or something to do with guitars, music, or
all that kind of stuff. But you actually have a quote here, and it says, "Music will always be with me."
Oh, well, it never left.
I know.
Wow.
So I love that. I think that's great. So once you started playing the guitar, who do you think was your greatest inspiration? Like, who did you? Well,
I'll tell you, just starting from that, what I was saying about the guys leaving their stuff there. We had there was this guitar player back in the day. He's a blues cat. His name is Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter was even though he was a blues player, he was a blues player that had a lot of flash to him. He wasn't your typical B.B. King type player,
Right. I remember that name.
Yeah, Johnny Winter has a brother, Edgar Winter. They're both albinos,
okay.
And they both play music. They're both incredible musicians. And Johnny, though, he played guitar with a lot of fire, and that really caught my ear on the guitar. He was one of the people that really influenced me at first. And then I got turned on to somebody turned me on to Deep Purple, and that's when I really got into Ritchie Blackmore, the guitarist from Deep Purple. And,
one of the greats.
So I mean taking the blues influence of Johnny Winter and Ritchie Blackmore's sort of medieval style of guitar playing, you might say. I kind of took those two things. Molded them into something, and then and later on I got into this speed guitar player, jazz guy that played with Chick Corea. His name was Al Di Meola, and he was known for his picking, his flawless speed picking. So I kind of combined those three people together and created my style, and that's what I've been known for forever. All my picking technique and everything, but. That was pretty much my influence. I mean, I had I liked, I used to like Grand Funk, like when before the keyboards were added. I used to like their live album and stuff. I used to, I used to love hearing live albums and hear bands stuff like that. I used to I used to think that was so cool, hearing the audience, screaming in the back of the record and stuff. A lot of people think. Because of the fact that I'm left-handed, and I spell my name like Jimi Hendrix, Jimi, that Jimi Hendrix was probably a main influence. Although he was a master, it wasn't like my main influence. Ritchie Blackmore was definitely more of an influence. Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. A lot of people think that I would have liked him a lot. I liked Led Zeppelin a lot, but once again, he wasn't one of my favorites at first. I learned. It's funny because I used to listen for certain things as a guitar player. Back in the day when I first started playing, I listened to solos as opposed to songs. Right. I didn't appreciate the lyrics or what the song was or chording in the songs. I only
the repetitiveness of the chords.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I kind of just concentrated on what the solos were and how fast the guy could play, and so I mean, I was growing up. I was just coming into my own, So I picked a certain element of what I wanted to learn, and I knew I had it in my head. I don't know why that. In order to be a good guitar player, you had to be a fast guitar player, which is totally absurd. That is not the truth. So it's not the truth. So don't believe that. As a matter of fact, I've gotten criticized for that somewhat in my career. I play too fast all the time or something. I used to get that because I've calmed down a little bit more in my age. But but that's what I went for, it's certain things that caught my eye. I like to be impressed. Like if I saw a guy burning up and down the guitar neck, that impressed me.
It is impressive.
It was. It was impressive to me,
Impressive to watch and hear.
Yeah, it was. It was like I looked at it and I said, well, I could watch this one guy play one note like this and do this, and and that's all well and good, but that he's not doing what this guy could do, and this guy that's doing all this can do that one note too. So it's always like I always shot for trying to be the best I could at what I do.
I think you've achieved that. So
I'm still going. I still practice every day, believe it or not.
Tell us about your career in music. Like how did it start? So you got us up to age 14, and now you're playing the guitar, and you're watching these great guitarists play.
Okay, well I
lots of bands I think you've been in.
My first band that I ever played out with was in junior high school. And believe it or not, I didn't know until recently what the name was. They were called Treebeard, and I guess Treebeard had something to do with Lord of the Rings or something like that, or something to do with that. I never knew that. Someone told me that afterwards. If that's not the right story, I'm sorry, but I'm just kind of going by what I was told. But I actually, my first start of the business, I don't even know if I can say this on TV, but it's nothing bad. My first experience in playing out was I was in junior high school, and that band at night played at a strip club.
Oh, so, you can say strip club.
Yeah, you can say strip club. All right, okay. So in other words, the club had strippers during the day, and at night they had band music, and that's how I.
And you were in junior high.
And I was in junior high, so I would be going to the gig, and the girls would still be on stage, and I would need a note from my parents to play at this place.
There might be some kids watching that think you're great just because of that.
Yeah. But it was just kind of like it was kind of a weird experience because that's. You hear of weird stories like that.
Well, I'm sure your heart was racing.
Yeah, I didn't know.
To be that young and be out and with this opportunity.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's like I'm just not the fact of what the club was, but just the fact of being that young and getting on stage. Right. Doing anything I can to play gigs. Money wasn't even a thought back then. It's like. What you didn't.
It's all about the adrenaline.
Yeah,
right?
It was. It was just getting out there. And I went through, a whole bunch of bands. I wasn't afraid to travel. Like I had gotten this. I was 16, and then I went to New Hampshire. Because the weirdest things I would do. It's like this. I moved up to Claremont, New Hampshire, because there was this guy who was friends with this guy who got pushed in the lake by Steve Tyler when he was a kid, because Steve Tyler lived up at Lake Sunapee, at Tellurico. Steve Tellurico was his real name, and so they knew somebody that had to do with Aerosmith. So I'm thinking, okay, well this guy might have a connection with Aerosmith. Anything that could possibly I could do
close, right?
To get me close to something that had something to do with fame, So I went up there, and then I came back, and then I did some local band things, and I ended up in a road band. Like right after I graduated, right after I graduated in '76, I got a phone call from this person I worked with, Rick Derringer, at the time, and they lived in Houston, Texas. And I had done a couple local shows, and they happened to see me play when they were up here. They were on tour someplace, and I happened to be in a club. And they liked the way I played. I was still, developing my style and everything. So the guy called and said, we'd like to have you in the band. You want to come to Houston? And I just got out of high school, and I said, yep, absolutely, I'm going to Houston, My mom said, no, I did. My mom said I left a record player on the record. As if I was coming back the next day. There was still a record on the record player. But that's how it was. I just kind of, like, any opportunity that I thought might put me into a different, situation, I did. I went to Houston. I was down there for a little bit. Believe it or not, within the few months that I was down there, I actually developed the Southern draw. It was like
I can't picture that.
No, I did. I came back and I was yawing everybody. Hi y'all, hi y'all. I swear to God, I was doing that. I mean, I couldn't help it. I mean, it was everywhere around me. Like you just get so accustomed to it. And you know, we did a bit of a tour with that, and then you know, I had these things like I said, they'd happen. Like there was a lot of promises. That's the whole thing about the music career, being in the music business. You know, you get promised a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a lot of things, and I'll hit on that in a minute. Like, so I got in this road band. This band was called the Shoppers, and they were up in New Hampshire, and basically what we were is we were a cover band. They had a guy and a girl singer, and I was the guitar player in the band. We would actually do a major club circuit. Like we played. Back then, this was, early, like 79, 78, and then into the early 80s. Back then, you would go to like Burlington, Vermont, and you would play the same club for an entire week. They put you at a hotel, you'd play for a week. You'd go up to, we played in Montreal, we'd go up there, you'd stay a week in Montreal, you go to upstate New York, you go everywhere. Very rare was it a one-nighter. Like a one-night thing here, a one-night thing there. It was usually like a block of 3 or 4 nights at the same place.
Wow.
So I got used to
travel. It's a real time commitment.
Yeah, I basically at a very young age, I got used to living out of a suitcase, which was fine with me. I didn't mind. I loved it. As long as I had my guitars and I was playing out.
I was just going to say, I could see that, just as soon as you got that guitar at night, nothing else mattered,
It doesn't. It really, and unless you're really in the business, and the more people that you have on the show, I'm sure they'll tell you, is there's nothing like the rush that you feel when you're up on stage, especially certain venues and certain things that happen in your life. When you walk out onto some of the, especially things I've been doing now, throughout my career. But even back then, though, I used to walk out and it was a whole different scene back then. Like live music was really, really happening back then. Like there was like places to play, lots of clubs, lots of.
There were a lot of clubs just around here.
Yeah, even around here,
right.
and there was tons of places.
I remember that.
So imagine that all over, the East Coast here, Vermont, Maine. I mean, I went everywhere, and people used to come out in droves. They really did. I mean, every time I played, or not just me, any band, the places were packed. People were really into live music back then, and it was just a great scene, And like I said, I got to go around, and then I was up in Canada playing, and I was playing at this club in Montreal called the Mustache Club, and I'm sure it doesn't exist anymore, but it was right next to the Montreal Forum, and I see this guy in the background staring. I mean, there was all these other people staring, but you could tell somebody is in the kind of in the music business.
Right. It stands out a little bit from the rest
stands
of the crowd.
out. And when they're just kind of like standing there, kind of in a suit and stuff. It's. What is this person? So they came up and approached me afterwards, and they said, "Do you have do you do any of your own music?" And the band that I was with at the time was called Teaser up there, and I said, "Yeah, actually, we've been writing. I write my own music a lot. We do. We've been just started getting into all this stuff." And he goes, "Well, why don't you follow me at the end of the night?" So we went, and he had this massive recording studio in Montreal.
Wow.
He happened to be, he was a producer. He did a couple of Emerson, Lake and Palmer records and stuff. And, anyways, he had signed us to a production deal that night. Here I am up in Canada, and he signed us to a thing. And this started the whole thing rolling of original music scene for me. At first I was just kind of in cover bands, playing other people's music, making trying to make a few bucks here and there. But I got into the original music thing, and this was one of those stories where we did a whole record with this guy, and he was working with big agents in New York, really big agents, and these people would come to us and say, you guys are going to be the next Led Zeppelin. All these stories, you're going to, this is it.
Be huge.
You're going to be huge. You're going to be bigger than this. You're going to be the biggest thing, So we're all, we're kids.
Of course you're excited.
Yeah, we're all excited, going nuts, we're thinking, this is going to be great. We're not only were we recording, but I was getting bankrolled at the same time. I was being paid.
Paid. Oh.
Yeah, I was being paid to sit there and record.
Right.
This guy would come and give us money.
So it seems like it's a great deal,
right? It seems like this is it. It's this is a legit thing, So we're up there. So no lie, I remember I think it was like 21 to 27 times this guy came back and said the record deal was signed. It was final. It was done. And then nothing would happen. And then they go, they just need to adjust a couple things, this and that. And of course, finally, it was nothing. All the effort and everything. Big huge letdown. Yeah. Calling my parents, I thought they signed the deal. Dad, you're going to be so proud. Dad, it's like all this. You always think something's going to happen, and then it doesn't. So I've had a lot of that throughout my experience, throughout my career, but things.
You always had your parents' support, though, it sounds like.
Yeah, my parents have been pretty.
From a young age,
my mother thinks I'm terrible on the guitar. She always thinks because I can't play a song. She says, "What is that blah, 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 stuff you play?" My father always comes out because my father used to come out and he used to talk to all the girls at the show. So my father is.
He's happy.
He's happy.
Let's talk about your mom for one more second, though, because to this day, how old is your mom?
89 years old.
89.
She just turned.
And I just heard a story about your mom. What did she do for you?
Well, I had I got for one of the projects, Max Explosion. We're doing a little bit more of a dress up thing than we used to. Like we're kind of going back to a little bit of the '80s vibe, a little bit. And I got this coat, a woman's coat. Believe it or not, I lost enough weight where I could actually get into. Women have the coolest clothes. I'm sorry, guys.
They do. We do.
They do. I mean, if you're looking for the flashy stuff, I'm not talking like a nice suit or something like that. But you get, there's like you look at, when you see certain things that certain clothes that the women have, and back in the '80s, that stuff would be like the stuff that all the guys would be wearing back in the '80s.
That's right.
So I saw this. I was at a consignment shop, and I saw this black plastic coat that you would never see, and it was shiny,
and like patent leather.
Yeah, that a guy would that would not be in a guy's shop,
right?
A guy's section, and it was an extra large, but it was a woman's. I tried it on. It looked really cool. It fit right through here, and but down here it still fanned out a little too much,
right.
For the stage. Even with the guitar on, like it was just a little too much material still, even for a woman's jacket. So my mom, she didn't want to do, I said, "Hey, Ma, you want to, she used to do so much, of my work for me with my clothes back in the day, So I kind of brought it up once. She said, "No way, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting involved in that thing." And so I let it slide. So I caught her in a good mood. I said, "Ma, I think I'm gonna just tell me how to adjust that coat. I'm gonna put a couple stitches in." She goes,
"That's all you have to do."
She goes, "All right, let me look at it. Go get it. Go." So I brought it over to her, and
that's great.
The next thing I know, she's ripping it apart and taking out material. And then I said, "No, you got to take more out." So she took a good inch or two out of each side, and did it. It was really cool that she did that still.
That's excellent. That is excellent. So back to your career. Let's talk about what bands you've been in, like kind of past and present. Tell me how it
escalated.
Yeah, because there's
a lot of stuff.
I know we chatted a little bit before, and I've always been one of your biggest fans. I used to come to your shows, a while back when you were playing out. So I remember the crowds. I remember the screaming girls. I don't remember your dad, but
yeah, he probably bought you a drink. No, I guess where we go. I mean, there was so many bands in between, but I guess one of the bands that really did something at first, where everything started, was Join Forces. Now, Join Forces was a band that we kind of set a standard. We set a pace for a lot of other bands. What we did is we came out and we decided that when we got together, we weren't going to do any cover music whatsoever. There were bands playing their own music, but they were mixing their own music with cover songs.
Right,
okay?
a lot of bands do that.
Yeah, and they were able to play a whole night. So we said, look, we're going to make our show like a concert show. We're going to do an hour and a half of just our music, and then we will have 2 opening bands, and that's how the whole thing will work.
And you did.
Yeah, and well, we took a big chance. Like, we talked to, we threw it out to a couple of club owners, and even though the music business was thriving back then, the clubs and everything, they were still kind of leery. They're going, oh, geez, all original. They were kind of flipping out.
Who knows your stuff?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's probably like a big, the first question.
Right. But see, the thing is that Join Forces did a run as a cover band at first in '82. We did a quick run with a few different members. And then we did a version of a band called Bell Attack from Join Forces, so which they used my name, and we did some covers and originals. So when Mark Diamond was in the original Join Forces, he left for 1 year during Bell Attack, came back after that 1 year, and that's when we started Join Forces again, where we got Mark Franco from Weathersfield,
right.
and who I grew up with. I think Mark graduated 1 year or 2 years before me, but we were friends in high school, so
Join Forces was really a couple of guys in separate bands coming together.
That's why it's called Join Forces.
Right.
That's the whole purpose of the name. Couple of musicians from different bands coming together to form Join Forces. So we took a chance, and we came out at the Agora Ballroom, and we
that was in West Hartford.
West Hartford, and you got to keep in mind that room. The small side of the room held over 1,000 people.
It was huge.
They had a big side where I saw Aerosmith when they were on their downswing,
right.
when they had concerts. That room held about 3,000 to 5,000 people. But we came out for our debut show, and there was like 1,000 people that showed up.
Amazing.
And all I remember is there was a sea of people just packed to the front, and it was like, and the band went over like. Just amazing. And what it did, it set a standard for all these other bands to be able to come out and do all original music. Because once we did it, a lot of other bands followed. They said, well, if Join Forces did it, we could do this. So they started doing it. They came out and did all their own music and stuff, and people started doing stuff. Now, Join Forces, what we did was...
talk about the success there.
Yeah, so we hook up with Joan. We got hooked up with somebody involved with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. He was part of the Blackheart Productions, which was there was this big, huge management company in New York at the time called Lieber and Krebs. They handled every major artist that there was back in the day. I don't even know if they exist as partners anymore, but I'm sure that they're still in the business.
Somewhere, yeah.
And this company, Blackheart Management, which was Joan Jett's management, took an interest in us. And
were you playing in New York at the time?
No, they just happened. I think they somehow, the guy was from Connecticut, and he heard about us, and he did a little research.
A big break.
It was kind of like a break, not a big break, but it was somewhat of a break. So here we only had a 3-song cassette demo tape. We had So,
the old cassette.
A cassette. Cassette, for you people that don't know,
Wish
is that little thing. It had tape in it, it had 2 wheels and stuff. But so what they did was, they put us out on tour with Joan Jett.
Amazing.
And so here we go. We're all ready to go. We only have a 3-song demo tape, but we have a tour bus. This company gave us a tour bus as nice as Joan Jett's tour bus.
That's awesome.
We were on a
She's
tour
a
bus.
Spitfire, right?
Oh my God, she just came out again. She's doing great, man.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know what it was. They were always real protective of Joan. Like they wouldn't let a lot of people around her and stuff. But for some reason, like she took not a liking to me. I'm not saying that, no, but she she liked me.
She enjoyed
to the
your
point.
company.
She enjoyed my company
Probably
enough
your musical
to
talent too,
enough to
and your
talk to me.
passion.
Like in other words,
Right.
like I was the only one that got to go and hang out with her a little bit and talk with her and. I'm the only one that has actually a picture, like the picture of me and Joan Jett when my hair is all spiked down on her, and it's on my.
It must have been the hair.
It was the hair. My makeup was beautiful back then. I did my eyeliner incredible. It was, but she, I was the only one that actually got to even take a picture with her, and I remember, we had gotten together, and we used to talk about music and just stuff. She has to be one of the sweetest people in the world. I absolutely adore her. And she really is a great talent. And so here we are. We're out on tour with Joan Jett. All of Joan Jett's bands riding on our bus. Our bus was the party bus.
That's awesome.
And of course, because they didn't want to ride on the bus with Joan because they couldn't really do nothing. So her whole band, the whole crew, everybody was on our bus. And so we had a whole. It was just a lot of fun. But so this opportunity comes up for Joan Jett. Joan is being cast in a major motion picture with Michael J. Fox.
I remember this movie.
Yes, all of a sudden we get a phone call, about this. They go, hey, they need a band for the movie. Why don't you guys send in some photos? Now, we had just gotten off tour with Joan, but even though we had sort of an in with it, we still had to send photos. There were all these other bands submitting.
Right.
But we had the look. We had, we had, you remember.
I think it's on your Facebook page.
I had the most perfect hair back then.
You did.
I did. I had the most perfect palm tree hair. I'm sorry. We'll have to get some pictures to prove it. But my hair was stuck out like this. And, between the makeup and all of us just looked, we had the right look for it. So we got
another great opportunity.
We got the part in the movie.
Yep.
We fly to Chicago. I got to meet Michael J. Fox. We flew in the night that I met him.
What a great talent he is, huh?
Yeah.
Amazing.
He was the nicest guy in the world. I got to I sat with him at lunchtime during the whole setup. They had us. We had to be at makeup at 4 a.m. In the makeup trailers. It was an on location thing, and they kind of made us look up a little bit like Kiss. Like they had. I know they did a lot of. I don't have any color to me anyway, but they put even whiter pancake, makeup on me, and did whatever they were going to do. Black lips, I think they put on me.
This was huge back then.
Yeah,
too,
yeah. So they wanted to make us look, kind of freaky, and so I got to, here we are, we're filming this movie, and everything. So here's an opportunity.
One of your original songs in the movie?
No, it was a song that Joan's manager wrote called "Rabbit's Got the Gun," and we filmed, we recorded it, and we had to go to the record plant in New York and do the soundtrack album with her.
Wow.
So we did that, and the thing was, Joan at the particular time. Wanted, let's see, what I'm trying to think about the sequence here of how it all happened. We thought that we thought we were going to go out on tour with her for a little bit and stuff.
Again, right?
And what happened was the manager ended up taking off and just like not doing anything with us. He ended up just going out and doing some road work for her. And it was like
so again,
here I have all these things going, and the ball gets dropped. Boom! It was just like, wow. I can't even believe that this happened. But it's
Mom.
Yeah. No, it's just one. It's one. Yeah. It's just
They're there for you again. That's great.
Yeah. Well, parents are always great, but these are like things like there's these little things like that have always. Kept me going and stuff, and, okay, so fast forward, we do this and, joint forces are still together. And, I do this in-store clinic for, a store that was on the Silestein Highway at the time was called Creative Strings.
Silestein?
Yeah, right on the Silestein here. And there was a drum shop called Creative Music and Creative Strings. They were side by side. One was a drum shop, one was a guitar shop. And there was this big guitar company in the 80s called Kramer Guitars. They were Eddie Van Halen was their big, huge endorser back then. So I had one of these guitars, and they wanted to do. I'm in the store, and they had me do a demo for it. And the president of the company was there, and he gave me a full guitar endorsement with the thing. Wow. Next thing I know, that they really loved the way I play. So I had this full endorsement. Next thing I know, they tell me that Ozzy Osbourne is looking for a guitarist. So I go,
wow.
Yeah. So they said we got it. We got to send out a tape of you and stuff. So they sent a tape. And they kind of already picked. They kind of already started working with Zakk Wylde, the guy that was in the band. And but Ozzy and Sharon saw my tape, and they
a great opportunity.
Yeah, they let's put it this way. They liked it enough where they flew me out instantly. So I get a phone call that says, "Hey, you got to go audition for Ozzy." And I said, "Oh boy!" And I said, "All right." So when am I leaving? Over the weekend, or what's going on?
Did you meet Ozzy?
I'll tell you in a minute. Hold on now. The story gets good here, folks. I went out, and Sharon Osbourne, I did my audition, and they flew me out that very next day. I had to be on an airplane the very next day and get out there. And
again,
yeah,
time
Sharon,
commitment.
Time. You have to, like, when those
jump
things.
Jump in and fly.
Yeah. You have to go when things go. When the opportunity. So Sharon had me come in. She sat in on my audition, and she absolutely loved it. And next thing I know is the next day they moved to a bigger sound stage, and in comes Ozzy. And
funny, she was there first, right?
Yeah, Sharon sat in because here's the deal.
She's like his manager, right?
She was the manager before his wife. And but here's the thing. They auditioned. 500 people auditioned for this spot, and it got down between me and Zakk Wylde, the two people that had it.
Wow.
Now, keep in mind, Ozzy wasn't going to sit through 500 people auditioning, so it was like the band had to do all those auditions.
Right.
And then finally.
Oh, so you played with the band?
Yeah, the drummer and the bass player had to sit through all those guitar players.
Wow.
But it ended up working out cool. I get in there. And there was a guy before me. I'll just try to tell you the story. I don't know where he came from, but he was from Sweden. And I'm on stage. I'm sitting up in a balcony, and I'm getting ready to go up on stage and play. Well, this guy's up on stage playing "Flying High Again," and the part in the solo where there's a big two-handed tapping thing, a very signature thing that Randy Rhoads was doing. This guy decided to alter it. And do something, try to be creative with it, as opposed to playing it the way it was. Well, Ozzy was standing, I'm watching this, and Ozzy's standing behind this guy, making like he's stabbing him with a knife and making like he's choking him like this with his hands. And I'm like going, oh my God.
What not to do?
What? And I'm going like, I'm going to be up on stage, and I'm going to have to keep my eye on this guy. Like what, I mean, and then the kid would turn around, and Ozzy would give him the thumbs up like that, And I was going like, oh my God, this is going to be too much for me. So I get up on stage. I do my thing. I start playing and really getting into it. We started off with one of the songs called "I Don't Know," and I had a good groove going with the band. And Ozzy started doing his his thing that he used to do. He'd grab the mic and kind of swing back and forth, and it was really cool. When I soloed, he got down in front of the amp and listened and everything. So it was pretty like a wild thing. When I got done,
that's a ride.
It was. It was a ride. It could have changed my whole life. And when I got done, Ozzy and Sharon sat me down, and they said, "Well, Jimmy, it's between you and Zakk."
Wow.
So I mean, they had no reason to lie to me. I mean, they could have just said, "Hey, man, it was great.
Right.
We'll
We've got
thank you."
1,000 of you outside.
Yeah. There was this, we decided to stay with this other guy,
right.
And but they actually, I got considered for it. They said it's between you two. So, be as it may, that was a huge one of your questions was,
Yeah.
I guess one of
Kind
the
of
most disappointing. I'm kind of answering all your questions in one shot, but I mean, it was like
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, I'd have to say that was a big, that was
Like
real
one of your
crushing.
like
it was one of my big moments that could have changed my life.
So you were here.
I was like, it could have like put me in a whole nother, a whole other area of my life.
Right.
Could
You
have
probably
taken me,
wouldn't be here.
right. I wouldn't be, but and I don't even know though. I had some issues going on back then. Bad things, like always, like a lot of people did in the 80s.
It happens.
And mine were a little bit more extreme. Even I was pretty bad. So who knows if I had that kind of money coming into me, if I would have even been alive. So I might have abused the situation.
Right.
So I guess there's reasons. I'm a firm believer that everything happens, timing, everything happens for a reason. And it wasn't meant for me to be in that position, get that type of money at the particular time.
Right.
Right after that, though, but here's the deal. Sharon liked my playing so much, which was wonderful, that the bassist from Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler, was looking for a guitar player. Next thing I know, my phone rings, and it's Geezer Butler, the bass player from Black Sabbath, calling me and saying, hey, I got your tape. I really like you.
Not too shabby.
No, not shabby at all. It was my favorite. Black Sabbath was one of my biggest favorite bands. And then,
I think it's in the yearbook. Right?
Yeah, right. And so Sabbath's in one of my favorite bands, and Geezer Butler's one of my favorite bass players. Here I'm talking on the phone. He goes, I'm gonna fly you to St. Louis to my house, and we'll work on a couple things. So he had a house in St. Louis, a house in England. So I went to St. Louis first. We worked on a couple things. Next thing I know, I'm over in England for my first trip, and
wow.
Yeah, I'm over there and living in his house. Yeah. I'm like staying with him. They're putting me up at like presidential suites and giving me money and every day, and it was like
probably one of your greatest moments.
Yeah, that was a great moment. That was really cool. I mean, it really, really was. It was, And so here's another thing. So we do, I play with Geezer. We do write a bunch of songs. We do this showcase in England. So we get done with a showcase, getting signed. We're getting signed to, I believe it was MCA Records, I believe it was at the time. So I come back to the States, and I'm going, okay, I'm going to have something here. I get a phone call from Gloria Butler, Geezer's wife. She goes, Jimmy, we lost the deal. Oh, and I go, why? What happened? And she goes, the guy that signed you got caught embezzling money from MCA Records, everything he was associated with, anything, got wiped off the plate. And, any normal person,
the ups and downs.
Anybody else, would have said, I've had enough, but I'm one of these people that
one big break, we're on number 4.
Yeah. But see, well, this is the thing. See, I look at it as the door. It's like the door keeps going and then it shuts. It opens, right. Boom, boom, boom. It's like,
still great life experience.
It is. It's all. I mean, I wouldn't
trade.
I wouldn't. Have changed anything.
Right.
I'm happy. I've had a lot more. People always say to me, they go, Jimmy, look at all you've done. Nobody's done what you've done and stuff. But you always wish for more. You can't help that. So I went for a bunch of years with. I ended up. I ended up not doing original music, playing in a cover band for a little while, and not doing too much with original stuff and. It was kind of on a downswing. I went through a really bad time kind of after that. I started drinking a lot and whatever, and, whatever comes along with everything else, partying and things. And then...
takes a toll on you.
Yeah, it did. I was just kind of like, I kind of had I never gave up, but I had more of a I don't care attitude about my own personal being. I was kind of like, I never let my playing go, though. I was always practicing and practicing and practicing. But as far as me, as what I was feeling inside, I was kind of like I was starting to let it bother me a lot. So
how did you overcome that? How did you?
Well,
strong family ties.
Yeah,
Mom.
What happened? Believe it or not, pretty funny. Everybody hits different bottoms. I actually I actually had gotten a DWI, and it's good to tell these stories because it'll help people to stay away from them.
Right.
It'll help people, try to keep focused on what they're supposed to do as opposed to
learn from my mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
learn from my mistakes. Trust me, you will learn a lot. But I had in 1997, I was doing all these things. I just won. I won a whole bunch of Advocate awards from the Hartford Advocate when they were doing. I won the best guitarist from the Hartford Advocate 6 years in a row or something like that. So I was coming back. Yeah. So in the back when they did that Advocate poll thing.
Yes.
So I was coming back in 1997. I was coming back from the award thing, and I drank a lot. I was always a big Jack Daniels freak, and I got arrested coming home. I ended up on a road that I don't even know how I got on it, but I guess and I got pulled over and
not your greatest moment.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, a lot went on with it, but let's put it this way. I hit a bottom, and then I had went into I put myself in AA for a while, and I stayed in the rooms for a good 10 years, and I didn't do the work that you're supposed to do because you think you could do things on your own. I did though. I did a lot of it on my own because I look at things like this. I'm in the music business. If I don't play out in clubs, I'm around drugs and alcohol all the time. Still to this day.
That's what it's out there.
It's out there. There's no getting away from it.
That's right.
You either have to have a certain amount of willpower, and you have to have enough self-confidence in yourself to be able to stay clean and stay away. If you have to do that.
Right.
You can't just rely on going to an AA meeting or an NA meeting or stuff. You can't make that your life. You have to have a certain amount of your own willpower and know enough to stay self-control. Right. Because because there's some people that
there's
will
peer pressure. Yeah.
It is.
Right.
There's people that will share in the rooms and stuff. They go, oh, I can't walk near a bar. I can't. Some people are like that. Once they hit that part of their life. They can't even go near a club or anything like that because the temptation.
Your life is in the club.
My life is there. If I don't work in a club, I don't make money unless I'm doing all the recordings and stuff. Right. So I mean, there's been a lot of things that happened. So, anyways, fast forwarding a bit because I know we're probably running short on time. But
probably, we need to get to current.
Current, okay, 2006. Let's go to 2006.
Let's jump.
All right, I get a call from this singer James Christian. He used to be in a band around here called Eyes back in the day, and back in the late '80s, he went to California, and Gene Simmons discovered him. Gene Simmons from Kiss. They were putting together this band called House of Lords. Well, House of Lords, like I said, Gene put them together, signed them to his label. And they, had a good amount of success from the year 1988 to 1991 or something like that before Nirvana came in and killed all the hair metal bands. Because that's what happened. Nirvana came and killed all the
grunge.
80s. Yeah, grunge music came in and killed all the pretty boy makeup.
I was just going to say, got rid of the pretty boys.
Pretty boy stuff, yeah.
Grunge was in.
Yeah, grunge was in. Seattle, here we come. So, so unfortunately, House of Lords got caught in that, and they weren't around long enough to achieve the status that a lot of the bands did, like Motley Crue and some of the other bands. But they did have a good amount of MTV hits, like when MTV was playing MTV videos, music. Rock videos. Right. House of Lords had #1 hits on their videos, they were ran for the longest. So they were putting the band back together in 2006, basically because they had a big deal in Europe, and that type of music over in Europe is still huge. It's massive. So they called me. He says, "Jimmy, do you think you could write this type of stuff?" And I said, "Yes." I never wrote a melodic rock song in my life. They call it melodic rock, but I said, "Of course, of course I can."
I'm doing that right now.
Matter of fact, I have some of these pieces right here. I'll be playing for you. But I really did, though. I had some pieces already. They were a little bit heavier than what I thought he was going to like, but I sent them, and the guy that helped write with the lyrics thought it was fabulous. And
awesome.
He said the way that I write, he refers to me as having 1 foot in the dark. In other words, he says that I have this this very good melodic, good melodic sense to my songs, but I have part of the song is very dark. So, and he liked that. It made his, for him writing words and lyrics, it made like, in other words, my guitar playing has a dark side to it a little bit, but I'm writing melodic rock songs, so I'll take these really heavy riffs, but make them into a melodic rock sense.
Right. Well, that's going to catch somebody's attention.
Yeah,
right?
And so, I mean, House of Lords hadn't done anything. They did a record in like 1996 or no, I forgot when they did it. It was called Power and Myth, and they tried to change. This is before I joined the band, right before I joined, and the band that record got bad reviews because they were trying to. The band that James didn't have anything to do with this. They were trying to change up the music, and the fans didn't accept it.
Right.
Although the record's very good, but the fans didn't accept it. We came back in, and the first record we did, called World Upside Down, steamrolled. As soon as we did it, the fans absolutely went nuts. All the people, and the record immediately went big in Europe. And every record that we did after that did the same thing. We did World Upside Down. Second one was Come to My Kingdom. Third one was Cartesian Dreams, and then we did Big Money, which hit the U.S. Top 100 Billboard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the new one called Precious Metal is coming out in February. And I've been...
Coming out here in the States? Or
Europe and the States. All the records are released in Europe and the States. But now we're on a label called Frontier Records, and Frontier is the biggest label there is in Europe. I'm on the same label as Whitesnake, Def Leppard, Journey. Yes,
all those 80 bands.
Yeah, every 80s. He has the market on every 80s band, and I'm on the same label with them.
That's awesome.
So, every year I get to go to Europe.
Sounds like another good break to me.
Yeah. No, it's been. It's like at this point in my life, look, I've always, I've had a lot of really good success, and I've had a lot of good. I've gotten really popular with a lot of people, and and stuff, which is all really good. Money has always been so.
Right.
I have great years. Yeah, it's not a steady income. It's like it fluctuates a lot. Like I'll have great years from doing records. I do a lot of other things. I do sound. I've played on do work for the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment. I've played on the wrestler's entrance music. I've been doing that since 2006. Whenever they need, whenever the music producer wants wild guitar done on a track, they call me up. I go down to Stanford, where the WWE is, and I do stuff. I've done stuff for the Ultimate Fighter.
Is that?
Oh, it's unbelievable. That's the biggest. If you talk about. I have to say, believe it or not, if you ask me what is one thing that is my biggest thrill, doing work for the WWE, out of everything that I've done, I've done a lot of big concerts and everything, but when after I get done doing the WWE, and I go home and put on the rest on WWE on TV, and I hear myself being played on TV for millions and millions of people all over the world.
That's awesome.
Not just the U.S. I'm talking the WWE is
worldwide. Yeah,
it is worldwide. Right. That's a massive thrill for me, because it's one of those things where you just get
Is your name attached to that somehow? Not that I watch a lot of wrestling.
It is. Believe it or not. Here's the deal. When I go there, I have to sign a waiver that I don't get anything except a fee. They pay me really well to go there and play. You have to sign a form all the time, that you don't have copyrights to the song, because actually it's the music producer Jim Johnson that does all the work.
He does all the writing.
Yeah, and I'm just playing on it. But
still,
but still, but if you go like on YouTube and stuff, it has me listed as a guitar player on stuff. So cool. It'll show a lot of the themes that I've done, and that's been a real big thrill. And one of the other thrills, though, is I've actually gone to the events live in the Hartford area or Springfield, and so when I'm in actually the stadiums,
You play it live?
No, I don't play it live, but I'm sitting there. Like, I always get the best seats. They give me,
right.
you know, I'll call them up and say, hey, I'm going to come to this event. Can you get me tickets? So I'm always like ringside or something like that. And I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I hear my guitar coming over. I hear myself coming over the speakers. I'm going, this is so cool, man.
That is cool.
Oh my God, this is great. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of great things. House of Lords is on a real upswing right now. I'm going for a good long tour coming up in Europe. I'm going for a couple months, and I do it every year, but this one is going to be a little bit long. Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, and off of House of Lords now, there's the drummer and the bass player and myself have another project called Max Explosion that just got signed to a deal, and that's getting ready to explode. We got signed to a deal. We're going on some big touring and everything else.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And on top of all of this, I hear that you have and besides, I think you were a teacher in the past, right?
Yeah, I've done some teaching.
You not only touched the lives of all the people you're playing for, but you've taught a couple of people in the past.
Yeah, I have.
Probably around town. People probably recognize your name through that.
You know what's sad about teaching? It's teaching is very unreliable. But I always tell the teacher, I'll tell the students though, I tell them right up front. I tell them, I got to be honest, I'm a terrible teacher. I'm not, and the reason is I'm not schooled.
Right.
I'm self-taught on the guitar. All my efforts and everything that I got on the guitar, I took a few lessons with a few people. But everything I did was just basic hard work, sitting with my guitar for hours and hours and hours. I'm not talking like, you know, like a parent saying you have to, you better practice your guitar for a half hour.
Right.
They would, you know, they used to come in and say when I was a kid,
that guitar down.
Yeah, are you going to bed? Or, you know, because I mean, I literally, I would play, 7, 8 hours, 12 hours a day. You know, I loved playing the guitar more than anything. I still do. I practice all the time. I'm writing songs constantly. I'm learning stuff for the tour. It's like, I got so much going on now. It's a nightmare.
And I was so addicted. All of that,
I was so addicted. I was so addicted to practicing. This is the weird thing, you know, how this all came about. That I invented a tool that I could practice even when I didn't have a guitar in front of me. I invented this thing called
just in case that ever happened.
Yeah.
Like right now.
I invented this thing called a shred neck, and what it is this little practice tool. It's has real strings on it, a neck and everything, and I take it. You could tune it and take the strings and you can't play it. Okay, it's like It's like working out with weights. You could loosen up your fingers on it. It has real strings. You pull on the strings. You keep the calluses all on your fingers good and strong, and it's amazing. It's like a really cool thing, and it's been selling great, and life's been really good.
I know. I was going to say you can't really ask for more than that. So you have all these ups and downs in the music industry, and of course working with the WWE is one of your greatest things you talked about. And but what was the toughest? I know there's something that you've been going through.
Yeah,
you wanted to bring that up. Because
I had I'm bringing it up just because of the fact of age group and
awareness,
awareness, and my friends and everything. You know, like last year I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and now prostate cancer runs in my family. My grandfather had died from it. 2 of my uncles have had their prostates removed. Things like that, and I had always had an enlarged prostate for a while, the frequent urination at night and stuff like that. So it was one of these things where it got recently last year. It started to get really bad. You'd be getting up to go, and you think you have to, and nothing's really coming out, and your belly's bloated out like crazy. You don't know what's going on, and so I went and. I knew what it was, but I knew. So I went and got a test, and the PSA test, and your PSA level is supposed to be a 4 or below. They even get alarmed if it goes up to a 6 or a 7. They don't like that. Well, my PSA level was an 18.
Wow.
And then they had so they gave me some medication to try and shrink it down. Well, it did the opposite. My PSA level then went up to a 22, which was off the charts. So they were freaking out. They said, something's wrong. We got to get you in. So I went in, had the biopsy.
And you must have been freaking out a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
I was going,
That's a whole different set of nerves, not like stepping out onto a stage.
Yeah, it is. No, it is.
That's scary.
I knew what was going to happen. They go up inside you, and they have this machine that takes snips of you, and of course, so they called back and said 3 of them came back cancerous, and the biopsy, and they have something called a Gleason score. I still don't understand a lot of it. 2 of them were a 6, and 1 of them was a 7, and that was apparently not too good. So, and they were concerned because my cancer happened to be to the outside of my prostate. So I had to go for a bone marrow, bone scan and a CAT scan and everything to see if it had spread anywhere. It hadn't, and so I had to. The doctor said,
"Good news."
Yeah, that's good news. And he says, "Jimmy, you have to get this out." And being a guy. And all the things that go along go along with that.
It's a tough thing to talk about. So
I knew what was
going
to happen. Being a guy, that I was going to have some downtime and stuff. That I said, I actually said to the doctor, I go, how long can I live with this? Because I didn't want to lose my, what was going. I didn't want to stop being a man for a while.
Right.
And he said, Jimmy, he goes, I can't even guarantee you 5 years. He goes, if you don't do this, he goes, you're a fool. He goes, I do this operation on, people in their 70s, late 70s and stuff, whatever. He says, if you were that age, I might give you might give you the option and say, hey, do you want to, do you actually want to do this?
Through with this?
You want to go through with this? You could have you could live another 5 to 10 years possibly. He goes, at your age, he goes, you have to do this. It's not even an option. He goes, he says, you're going to die early, way too early. And I have my daughter's 18. She's going to college right now she's being a doctor of physical therapy. So she goes to the Hartford University. And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about I still got a long life left ahead of me. So. I didn't want to do
some songs to write.
I got plenty of songs to write. Yeah, I do. It's constantly. So I had to go. I went and had the operation a year ago. It was January 8th. It'll be a year
almost
coming up.
This
January. Yeah, almost a year. So they tell you. When you're in there, they try to make you feel better. They go, oh yeah, you should be fine. You should
in a week.
You should be ready to go in about 3 months. 3 to 6 months. You should be back to your normal self. That's all a lie.
Yeah.
It takes a good year for because they're very careful now when they go and do this operation. They go because they want to spare their nerves.
Right.
They do stuff to purposely so they you can
make
function.
it right.
Yeah, so you can function again. So they go in and they do nerve sparing and stuff, which is all really good, but he still has to take it takes a good year. Thank God, things are starting to, work again and everything. So I was like going like, but it was a tough year. You go you get really depressed and you just go, oh my God, what's going to happen here? You think about things like that.
Right. Was it worth it?
Yeah, was it worth it? Was it? But let's put it this way.
But now that you're through it.
Yeah, now I'm through it. It was. I'm glad I had it done. It just. The only thing I could tell, guys that are out there, if anybody that's watching, that's once you hit 40, you got to go have this operation done.
Check it
out. You got to go get checked out.
Right.
There's no any way to get around it.
Right.
Seriously, because once you hit 40, you absolutely should go have this done because if you get it if you catch this thing early enough, prostate cancer is the slowest moving cancer there is. So if you do catch it early enough, you'll be able to, not have
probably
to have it.
Less invasive.
Less extreme of action that be taken. You could get there might be some medicine they could do a different kind of treatment.
And if most guys are like my guy, they stay as far away as they can from doctors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, no one likes to go to a doctor, especially for that. I mean, you know what you have to do. You got to kneel on it, put your arms on the table, and that's all there is to it. There's no other way to check your prostate, but you have to. It's something that has to be done. Back when my grandfather died, they weren't really up on the technology of this stuff, but now they've made so many, robotic surgery, the whole deal, there's so many advances they made on this that, it's okay. You could have this operation and you will be all right. You'll function again. So, guys, if you're out there, take it from me. You don't want to wait like I did or have what I had. You definitely want to go have this operation and get yourself checked.
Checked out, right.
It's well worth it.
Well, very good. Thanks for talking about that. And back a little bit to what's going on now with you and your daughter in college, and probably, I hear that, you've gotten her a little bit of a gift, a
little bit of a gift? Oh my God, between college and then she she had a car. She had a perfectly working car, just had too many miles on it, and now things were starting to go. I just paid for some. I haven't even got the bill yet. Something went on it, and I haven't received the bill yet, but the car's already gone. It's already traded in. So, I just got her a new Jeep.
So that's a great feeling, right? That you can do that.
I feel safer that she has that because I have a Jeep Cherokee, and for being here in New England, you need to have 4-wheel drive or something 4-wheel. My old Chrysler that I had, my 300, every car I bought was a Chrysler, and they were all front-wheel drive, and I thought everything was fine. I bought the 300 just assuming it was front-wheel drive, but it wasn't. It was rear-wheel drive, and in the snow, the thing was all over the place. I didn't realize it. I just assumed it was a Chrysler. I always bought Chrysler, so.
Well, I just have to say that's a great gift that you gave to your daughter, but doing what you did, better great gift.
Yeah.
To give her more years of your life.
Yeah, she's a great kid too.
So good for you for going through all that, and
yeah, here's the deal. I have a lot more music going in my life. There's a lot of things going on. I got a lot of it seems pretty funny to say that at this age of my life, I have more going on than I ever have. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say that I'm 55 years old. Obviously, because I graduated in 1976.
I kind of blew that for you.
No, I mean you could do the math so easy, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I do what I have to do. People always, people laugh at me. I was hanging out with a few of the people. I was hanging out with Paul Montanari, our mayor, and the other night. Over at Chuck's, we were just kind of having a little dinner with a couple other people, and they were all kind of making a joke because my hair is all black and everything, and they're all going, "Oh, Jim, you haven't gone great." Look, here's the deal. I'm on stage. I'm on camera. I do stuff like that. I'm constantly in photos. I'm constantly doing interviews. I'm constantly doing this and this. I'm on stage performing.
The locks have to look great. Right?
Yeah, I do it because. When the time comes and I'm not doing it anymore, then I could just, let it go. But for now, I just...
I bet our mayor wishes he can have hair down there.
Yeah. Paul rocks, though. I discussed a lot of things with him. This whole town's about to change, trust me. There'll be a guitar in every household, I promise.
Well, this has been great. Is there anything else that, about Jimi that we need to... I
know it's okay to say it because it's on the screen, but please go to my website, Jimi Bell Music, Jimi, just so you know, Jimi.
On Facebook, right? You're on Facebook.
Yeah, JimiBellMusic.com. And I have 2 Facebook pages. Actually, I have to start a third one. For some reason, Facebook
and it's Jimi again.
Jimi, yeah, Bell. And they only allow you to have 5,000 people per page. So my second page is almost filled now. So my daughter has to come over and do a whole nother third page for me. So I'll have a Jimi Bell 3 up pretty soon. But it's really cool. I'm really music's been really good to me. Like I said, the money could be better.
Right.
It's always been like this financially. But you know what? my love and my drive for music, it just keeps me going, you know. And now that things have been on an upswing lately, you know, it's that much more of a thing. I've now, like I said, I have more projects going than I ever have. I have, you know, this year coming up in 2014, I'm going to be on the road a lot. I'm going back and forth to Europe like 3-4 times. Wow. I have to go after this 2 months. I have to come back and we do a big festival called Sweden Rock, which is one of the biggest festivals there is in the world. We'll be playing there. Then I have to go to I think Copenhagen or something like that in July, and then we're playing the big Melodic Rock Fest in Chicago. And then I have to go out to Denver a week later for this big, huge festival called the Wolf Fest. And
you do pretty much all this, all your other scheduling. You do all that yourself.
Yeah, with the exception of setting up tour dates.
Right.
You know, I have to arrange, you know, everything. Like I book like all the. I do a lot of the bookings for like my local bands.
Right.
Like, you know, I play with Diamondback. I play. So anytime we do local shows, Max Explosion. Even though we're a touring band, we also do local shows around here, so you could actually see them. But you know, that's something that I like. I do. You know, I'm one of these guys that go in there and I'll take care of all the money. I take care of the finances and stuff. The one good thing that I did good in, besides music in high school, was whoops.
Like business.
Yeah, was the business part of the school. I knocked my mic off here. I don't know what I did, but. Yeah, it was the actual business part of the class. I did very good in the banking thing, and then
sounds like you've needed that.
Yeah, it was something. I would like to have a lot more in the bank for it, but to use it for. But I'm very pleased. I couldn't be happier, really.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much. I think probably the last thing that we're going to ask for you to do, we have a signature board here, and.
And I'm really, I got to tell you, I'm really grateful to be the first guest on the show. I really am.
You've got a nice clean slate.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the whole thing so all the next people that come in here don't have a place to do it.
They can do it inside your swirls or whatever.
Yeah. The heck with them. Thank you, everybody, so much. I really appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, Jimmy.
My pleasure.
We'll see you soon.
I have to sign the board.
Very good. There it is. And Chewy. And we have something for you for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Your very own.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Now you look just like me.
Absolutely, I do. Blonde hair and everything. Can we get a shot together?
There we go.
Hold on.
Wait, get his hair. There you go.
I gotta get my hair over his face. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.